Hi, welcome to Global Contact Bookstore. Global Contact Bookstore presents a conversation with Sarah Mc Crum. Sarah is the author of Love Money, Money Loves You. I'm Jane Ewens, and I recently had the pleasure of interviewing Sarah.
So firstly, the book's called Love Money, Money Loves You. Where did the title come from?
I think the best thing to do is to tell the story of where the book came from, because that really explains where the title came from. I was at a very difficult stage of my life financially, having just had a business failure in the recession. It was back in 2010 in the UK. And so I had no money, I had nothing to do. I had masses of time because I was used to working 7 days a week, like most business owners. And I found myself completely by chance, totally by surprise, writing a message from money. I was actually looking at the exercises in a little book. It was a little book about how to make money. And it said, what would money like to say to you? So I just started writing in my journal, and it started speaking through my pen. It was like literally money was talking to me. And the very first thing it said to me was, I would like to tell you to love me. And then it wrote this beautiful message, which I could never have come up with myself. And it explained that it's this very beautiful energy and it's here to support human beings and all this kind of thing. And the final words it says were don't wait, just take me, I will love you. So it was literally money said, love me, and I will love you. So it becomes love money, money loves you. That's how it happened. People often say to me, Sarah, this isn't really about this. They don't say this isn't really about money. They say this isn't just about money, is it? What happens when you get into the material of it? Because it's quite a revelation in a way about, if you think it starts with saying, I'd like to tell you to love me and I'm going to love you, this is money speaking to us, it's pretty weird.
Yeah.
So it's a real revelation about money. It's a very different way of looking at it. What it ends up being about, in a way, is about life. It actually says in the first chapter, you will receive, I think it says, you will receive not only me, which is money, but life also. And that's actually what I found, is that by learning how to relate with money, so it's really about our relationship with money, I learned how to relate with life. It brought me, in many ways, the keys to joy, which I didn't expect when I was looking at money. It's very liberating. So it touches into the things that we really care about as human beings, that are more than money in a way. So yes, it isn't just about money, but it is definitely about money in a very expansive way.
What's the main message of the book?
I think the main message is, first of all, that we have really misunderstood money. Even extremely wealthy people have misunderstood what money really is and how it really works. And so it's an invitation to us to a relationship with money that enables us to thrive. It enables us all to thrive in the sense that it's not wealth for a few and everyone else is living in a very challenging situation. It's open to everybody. And it's also an invitation for us to combine money and wealth with genuine health and well-being, with working in a way that is supportive to us, and with creating a system. Ultimately, I see an economy, it doesn't use that word, but it's clearly pointing in that direction, that is aligned with our true nature and also with nature itself and the nature of life on this planet. So it brings us into connection with who we really are and allows us to operate with money from there, rather than these rather weird roles that we tend to take on when we get engaged with money.
So when you first wrote the book or channeled the book, that's my words, not yours, were you surprised by the messages, and did you see that you had a number of blockages or beliefs or conditioning that was getting in the way up until that time?
Yes and yes. Yes, I was very surprised by the messages. Sometimes they made me laugh because some of it's quite funny in a way. It's very cute and surprising. I used to read, because when I wrote it, I wasn't in a kind of weird state or anything. I was very clear, but they were clearly not my words. I knew that. I don't write like that. And also, there's not a single mistake. if you look at the notebooks where it's written, there are no crossings out, no mistakes. And if I'm writing myself, it doesn't come out that way. So it was very surprising, quite a lot of it. And when I read it to my husband, we would both, it was just like, wow, this is amazing. It was that kind of experience. And yes, writing the book didn't make me solve my own relationship with money. I actually finished writing the book with I had no money at all. It was only when I went to learn how to apply the book, and I really have had to learn, just like everybody else does, every single step, because I was totally broke at the time. That's how I learned really how to engage with it. That's how I discovered that it actually works, because you can't be sure just because you've written some nice messages from money, it doesn't necessarily mean anything unless it actually works. And so yes, I think yes, I've had blockages. Yes, I've had beliefs and patterns. I still have some that show up. They show up at different levels, so it's definitely something that changes over time.
I remember, I'm not quoting exactly, but I do remember in those first 1 or 2 chapters when you said, it is easy and simple, but I'm still working on it 11 years later.
Yes.
What are the challenges in it? If it is easy and simple, what is it that gets in the way of it just flowing easily? So
the fundamental principles are very simple. It's very much about relaxation and enjoyment, which are things that we don't always associate with money, and love, of course, which is another thing we rarely associate with money in a positive way. So what I found repeatedly is whenever I get stuck, it's always something like that. It's just relaxing and enjoying more rather than being so serious that unsticks me. What gets in the way, I don't really see it like most people. A lot of people talk a lot about blockages and things like that. I don't see it like that so much. I see that my relationship with money has expanded step by step, really enormously over an 8-9 year period, or no, it's a bit longer, but 10 years really since I published it. And as I kind of go through those steps, initially it was pretty much survival level. It was being able to pay the rent. And I discovered certain patterns that came up for me there, my stuck patterns and my kind of coming unstuck patterns. And I think different people have different patterns, but they'll tend to meet them time and again. And then, I come to a different level where I'm not worried about paying the rent anymore, but I'm operating at a higher level, and maybe it's more business stuff. And I can find these stuck patterns. It's like, oh, you're doing that again, Sarah, but it's at a different level. I'm not where I was before. And what I find is with each level of expansion, I'm not only expanding my capacity for money, I actually have to expand myself. The way that I think, the things that I believe I'm capable of doing, the contribution I make through my business. And that's the challenge, is letting go of my old ways of thinking and being that worked at this level, but they don't work at this level. I actually need to be a different person at this level. So I think that's a perfectly natural process of life. And when you open up your relationship with money, it opens up the pathway for that. So I used to be like, oh, I have all these ideas, but I just can't, I don't know how to do them. Now it's like, oh, I have these ideas and now I'm doing them. And then I need to change.
I noticed quite a number of places throughout the book, the way I would describe it is that there's sort of 2 portals. One is through focusing on money and opening up to money and wealth in that respect. And the other is focusing on enjoyment, and that they both end up at the same place or the same thing. So if one's living a life of joy and gratitude, that it tends to open up and one becomes more abundant, and vice versa. Have I misunderstood that? Or
the only thing I would say, yes, that those are both really important. I think it's a both and. I think it's quite conceivable that there are some people who experience quite a lot of joy and gratitude, but don't really ask for anything or don't necessarily listen to the things that they would love to experience. And so they restrict their wishes, if you like, and that means they restrict their engagement with money. So somebody might say, I feel so grateful for where I live and the amazing people around me. And they have this feeling inside, like, I'd love to do something. I'd love to, make a business or do something that makes a difference, but I can't do that. And I'm so grateful for everything around me. Then they're not engaging with money so much there. And that will limit what's possible. Now, if that's what they want, it's fine. But if it's not what they want, on the other side, if you have some people who engage quite strongly with money and are very focused on money, if they don't have that enjoyment and gratitude, it can become quite an empty thing in the end. We've all heard of, and I've met quite a lot of people who have been very successful, sometimes very young, and had zero enjoyment. And they end up thinking, oh my goodness, what's the point of this? My life is completely empty. So to me, it's a both and. We need to bring together enjoyment and a sense of purpose, which I think goes with that, and money together. And then we have much more fulfillment.
Maybe a third of the book, I was thinking it was really more about manifestation and unlocking or letting go of blockages. But then when I kept reading, it's like, yes, do that. And it needs to be underpinned by one's own sense of value and valuing, or it's not worthwhile. That's my language, not yours.
Well, there's a few quite different things actually that you're really drawing attention to there. So first of all, let's just think about the simple thing like valuing yourself. So let's say there's something that you want, and the book explains this quite clearly. There's something that you want to experience in your life. It's going to cost some money, and you really don't value yourself. So you say, well, I would love that, but I'm not worthy. We all know this feeling. I'm not worthy. I don't deserve it. I'm not good enough, whatever it is. You will probably then not do it. Now, if you compare that with somebody who just has enough self-love to say, I'd love to experience that, I'm going to do it. And then they take that step forward. So that's the one piece of it, because money and value are so connected together. But the other piece, and I think this is the very evolutionary part of this book, and takes us beyond the simple manifestation, is that, and the way I see it is that it's almost as if money, the system of money itself, is evolving. And so it starts to talk about how, I think it says, imagine the change that you would love to see in the world, and then bring enjoyment and kind of play with that. It's really inviting us to become a part of that change, and therefore to start to express our values, what we really value, what we really care about in the world. And we can see there's such a growing sense of purpose amongst human beings, and people wanting to express their purpose, which is fundamentally their values, their deeper values. And the picture I get and got while I was writing it is that the pure manifestation, like I want the car, I want the house, I want the stuff, it's like that's going out of fashion. And it doesn't mean we won't be able to do that. It means that I want a world that feels really good to live in. That's going to include a car and a house and some stuff. Might be slightly different, but that I care about something bigger than just myself. That comes through really strongly in the book. And I know from my own experience and from working with a lot of people, teaching people, what a difference it makes when you feel that you can do that. So I think this book takes us way past the pure manifestation. It gives us the workings of manifestation, the inner workings, but then it says, okay, how are we going to really use this ability?
With the whole concept of vibrational bank account, this comes back to that sort of values and contribution thing. Could you talk about that a little bit?
It's a very intriguing thing, actually. It's rather fascinating. It's a slightly it's a challenging analogy, but what money does is say that you can imagine that you have a kind of vibrational bank account. I actually asked about, the question was, what's the new currency? I don't know where that question came from, but I had this sense that there was a new currency coming. So I asked about it. And this is what came through all about the vibrational bank account. And it's like any bank account, it can be in credit and it can be in debit. And like any bank account, you can have several accounts with one bank. And you could have accounts that are in debit and accounts that are in credit. And fundamentally, your credit is what you can draw down on at the most extreme level to create miracles. But it's not so much about miracles. It's about, to have the ability to create good happenings in your life. So maybe you want a new boyfriend, a really great boyfriend, or maybe you want more money, whatever it is, the things that we want that upgrade us, they kind of get delivered through that credit, if you like. Our debit is the kind of negative part of that. We could say that that's the stuff that holds us back, really drags us back and makes us feel as if we're being sabotaged and things like that. And the way you contribute to the debit part of it is fundamentally by being really negative, being unkind, hurting people, hurting yourself, as much hurting yourself as hurting other people. So if you're really mean to yourself, that's going to create a debit on your vibrational bank account. That's just going to mean that life feels harder. The credit, in many ways, goes beyond the earth. This is a kind of universe and an energy system. It's in a way the sweet energy that you supply into the system. Through your own thoughts and feelings towards yourself and towards others, towards your kind actions, loving actions, towards the generosity that you express, all of the good things you do, both inner and outer. Now, if I do something for you and I take cash for it, it's like an instant drawdown on the account. It's like credit goes in and money comes out, which is fine. We all understand that. But what's very freeing about this is that I can build my credit account by being just generally a kind, nice person, supplying nice energy. And then when I really need something, let's say I get sick, or let's say there's a problem, and I really need something, I need to manifest something. Might be money, it might be something else. That credit is available because I haven't used it all up by taking it all in cash, so to speak. And that's how we get great results. And another way of looking at it is that if you want a result and you're really struggling to get it, let's say you have a problem with your health and you want to get better health, if you know that if you just keep adding to your credit account, you will be able to gradually manifest that health. And I've seen that time and time again with people. There are the people who have really miraculous changes, and there are people who take a year or two, but they get there. So it's a very beautiful system described in a very human language, banking language, of what's going on behind the scenes.
Does it work even if people don't understand what's going on?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And will it impact their ability to manifest if they've got a low vibrational bank account?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's not something to be scared about.
Sure.
The point is, it's like being in debt. Look, frankly, if you're in debt or if you've got into trouble with debt, it is a really difficult situation. And, you have lots of difficult relationships around you. And you're always at risk that the bank will say, no, you can't go any further into debt. And ultimately, you do have to sort it out. It's just like that. It's unpleasant, but it's doable. And you have to settle down and realize, you know what, I've been really negative. For the last 5 years of my life, I've been complaining about everything. It's not working for me. It's time for me to stop complaining, or to stop criticizing, or to stop judging everybody, or whatever your thing is. I'm going to clean up my life. I'm going to be kinder. I'm going to be happier. I'm going to just provide a bit more joyfulness into life. And that's how you clean that up. And it's just like cleaning up a financial debt. It's absolutely about responsibility, and it's also about recognizing the link between money and contribution.
Yes.
It talks about service. Actually, service isn't a word that I like particularly, but it likes it, obviously. And I often talk about contribution. If you want more money, you do need to contribute more. You pretty much are going to have to figure out, what can I contribute so that I can create that kind of wealth for myself. And it's very freeing but it really demands responsibility and increasing amounts of responsibility. The wealthier you become, the more responsibility you have, without question.
Going back to the other ways we contribute and the vibrational bank account, it became clear to me that until we stop undervaluing people who don't have a job, we're putting the whole thing is, you're employed or you're not employed. If you're not employed, you're not contributing to society, right? It's a general thought. Now, with this vibrational bank account, the unemployed could be contributing, and probably are, many of them, in so many ways, but it's not valued or recognized by our society.
There are two levels of that. At one level, and I see this, like if you're unemployed, but you simply are happy and kind of willing and don't get into feeling really sorry for yourself, you're far more likely to get a job if that's what you're looking for. Honestly, I just see that when we enjoy ourselves more, it's much easier to get whatever it is we want. So that's the manifestation piece in there, if you like. It works at a very simple level, which is exactly the vibrational bank account that I already described. Also, you're supplying that kind of into the system, and other things may work for you as well. It's not like everything's not about a job. But I think one of the very important things, and this is what I work on in my business, is like we're now creating a different value system so we can actually value those contributions that people make that are currently not valued at a business level, so that we can bring money to people who do often amazing things that are not considered to have any value at all at the moment. And some of the primary people who contribute a lot are parents. If you parent your children and take responsibility around that, the value to society of a child who's been brought up in a stable, secure environment is huge. And there are many other examples that I could give you. So I think this is a very, very important topic in terms of our future.
And you're bringing this into people's awareness, not only with your book, but with another project that you've just launched?
Yes, that's a business that's called Love To, which is fundamentally about recognizing the things that people love to do that are not valued. Actually, what we've done is we've created a new type of financial product. So it's, these are shares and options, so really financial products, but they're backed by the regeneration and protection of nature and of human health and well-being. So these are financial products that recognize the value people bring when, for example, they farm regeneratively. At the moment, all the work that people do for regeneration is considered to have no value. Actually, what does it produce? Clean air, clean water, living, healthy soil, biodiversity, healthy ecosystems, healthy human beings. It's the foundation of our life, and it actually has no value at the moment. So that business has created a methodology to value those kinds of things in a way that works for the financial markets, so that we can bring huge scale investments to the people, the grassroots people who really contribute by doing what they love to do.
That's fantastic. What would be your sort of parting statement to somebody who's considering buying the book and investing time into actioning what's in the book?
I think the thing about this is that when you change your understanding of money, your relationship will inevitably change. So in fact, although it sounds quite big, what I've talked about, it's very simple, because just by seeing it differently, you can't unsee it. And so it changes you, it changes your energy, and it changes. I get so many emails from people who just say, I've started reading it and my life started changing. And it's always for the better. And yeah, there can be a few challenges along the way, but we have challenges anyway in life. So to me, it's about it's an opportunity to open to a different way of looking at a subject that is really fraught with stress and worry for most people. And it's as applicable to wealthy people and kind of middle class people who are doing okay as it is to people who are struggling with money. So yeah, it's an invitation. It's actually a very sweet invitation to have a new experience that really is rather delicious. It's like, oh, this feels good. That's the reason, I think, to read it.
And I have found it in equal measures highly enjoyable, and that was almost a trick, because I read through it so quickly and I got to the end and I went, I have to reread it now, because like I've just enjoyed reading it, but I have to go and reread it and actually go, okay, what do I do? What do I do? Because and so I say to anybody who's considering reading the book, read it once and then read it again and then start, the real work.
And then start. I agree with you. And
Yeah.
you know what? So the business that I described, Love To, and all the other things that I've done, I had no idea that that's kind of all embedded in the book, but I couldn't see it when I was struggling to pay the rent. When I look at it now, I read the book and it's like, oh, wow, there's a whole lot of stuff in here that I never saw before.
Yes.
So it keeps on, it just gives more and more, because it's written in a slightly different way. It's very kind of generous and continues to reveal more to you as you go, as you come back to it. And so it's been a guide for me in many ways along the way.
You can attend a free online workshop called The Essence of Money, which we're holding on the 2nd of July. All you need to do is to buy the book from Global Contact, either online or in store, and then you can register to attend. We hope we see you there. Take care.